So far this offseason, the New York Yankees have been asleep at the wheel. There's no doubt about it. Much of what the Yankees have done compared to the other teams in the AL East has been relatively a whole lot of nothing. Now we're hearing rumblings, rumors, and smoke and mirrors, if you will, about a potential acquisition of Edward Cabrera from the Miami Marlins. There's a lot of names being bandied about as far as who could potentially be sent back to Miami to facilitate this trade. On this video, what we're going to do is we're going to try to settle in and figure out whether or not this is actually a good move for the New York Yankees, or if this is just another move in a long line of moves by Brian Cashman that really aren't going to amount to much. Let's settle in and let's get into it. Now, as we look at the potential acquisition of Edward Cabrera, obviously what is a lot to be liked about this potential move is a young, controllable starting pitcher that is going to be cost controlled, something that really very much fits into the Hal Steinbrenner budget idea of keeping a payroll under $300 million, right? If you go out to the market and you go out and you get a high-end caliber pitcher of this potential quality, it is going to cost you greatly. If you go out and you go into the trade market for high value prospects in terms of pitching caliber players, ace level pitchers, you're going to pay a premium. But because of the years that are left on Edward Cabrera's deal, you're also going to be paying a premium. Now, where the concern comes in for a player like Edward Cabrera is his injury history. There is a ton of things to be concerned about when you look at the fact that over the last several years, he's dealt with shoulder issues and more recently elbow issues. When you think about what this player could look like a part of the New York Yankees roster in terms of the high level potential of Edward Cabrera, there is a lot to like about it. But when you look at the raw footage, when you look at the raw data of this particular move that could be made, again, nothing is set in stone at the time of this recording, but when you look at what this move could be, in terms of the injury history, this move potentially could very much remind Yankee fans of the Frankie Montas deal. This was a guy in Frankie Montas who we expected to come in and fill in as the number 2 starter in our rotation, number 2 starter in our postseason rotation, someone who's going to be able to go head to head and dominate the Astros, something we had seen before. When it comes to Edward Cabrera, having those injury histories pile up with, again, a shoulder issue the past 2 seasons and now most recently an elbow issue, you don't know exactly how much damage has been done to that arm. To me, when you look at what this potentially could be, it very much gives me those Frankie Montas vibes. A player with a high potential, but we're not going to see much of it because much of his time under a Yankee banner, it is going to be spent on the injured list. We already have a ton of players that deal with an injury list stint year in and year out. For the Yankees, going out and acquiring a player, a pitcher of high caliber with years left on his control is going to be a costly acquisition. And the potential acquisition of Edward Cabrera really stands to reason for 2 factors. Obviously, and most importantly, is going to be the cost of the acquisition. If the Yankees are giving up some of the names that are being rumored and bandied about as far as going back to Miami, this could cost the Yankees a great deal. If the Yankees are able to negotiate with the Miami Marlins and bring down the cost of that acquisition, then obviously this move looks much better in hindsight. But when you're talking about names like Jason Dominguez or Spencer Jones, your top players and prospects that are potentially available on the market, you add in a player like Ben Hess, amongst the potential other names that have been rumored about, there's no doubt about it that the cost of this acquisition could far outweigh the value that you're supposed to be receiving on the back end. Which brings me to the second point. The cost of the acquisition is also going to be impacted by what you're going to get out of Cabrera. Obviously, the health is going to be the biggest concern. If you're able to get a healthy Edward Cabrera, let's say for all intents and purposes at this point in this conversation, that he remains healthy throughout his entire time and tenure with the New York Yankees. What are you getting out of this player? This is still a pitcher who gets hit very hard and walks far too many players for my liking. But Yes, we can think about the potential pitching factory that could be unleashed upon Edward Cabrera, the factory that the Matt Blake school of thought, and we could potentially see something more from Edward Cabrera that we have not yet seen during his time in Miami. There is that potential to unlock something more and something greater. And having the years of control, along with potentially unlocking something more out of this player, could see him be another tremendous acquisition, another tremendous story and asset for the New York Yankees. But what's more likely? That the player that we've seen over his course of his tenure in the Miami Marlins organization turn out to be another injury-prone player who had a high potential and not much else to back it up. So for the New York Yankees, the rumors, the smoke and mirrors could just be posturing towards another potential acquisition. A player who, in my opinion, the Yankees really need to seek and go after is that of Freddie Peralta of the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, yes, Peralta is entering the final year of his deal. And to give up prospects for potentially a player walking away, we've done that many of times. Most recently, where it really came back to hit us was with the Juan Soto deal. Obviously, Juan Soto in the New York Yankee lineup really helped the Yankees get to the World Series in 2024, despite how everything turned out thereafter. But giving up a ton for a potential free agent departing your team after one season is definitely going to be something that the Yankees are weary of. Most recently, in a deal with the Milwaukee Brewers for Devin Williams. Caleb Durbin turned out to be a great asset for the Milwaukee Brewers. And while Devin Williams started to round into form at the end of his Yankee tenure, it's not at all what was expected when that deal was made. Could Freddie Peralta be another long line of that type of deal? Sure. But the potential acquisition of Edward Cabrera leaves the feeling of wanting more, simply because you don't know what you're going to get in dealing with that injury history. So for me, it is a very much based on what the cost is going to be to acquire Cabrera. Obviously, having years of control left on the deal, it is going to hurt. It is going to cost a pretty penny, if you will, in terms of your prospects. But to give up the highest of value prospects that the Yankees currently have in the organization for a potential Frankie Montas 2.0 situation just seems like a very high price to pay. But I want to hear from you, baseball fans, Yankee fans. Let me know your thoughts and feelings about a potential acquisition of Edward Cabrera down in the comments section below. Let me know where your feelings are about what the Yankees have not done this offseason, and there's definitely an opportunity here to see potentially more from the New York Yankees this offseason. So I want to hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments. And while you're there, definitely make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and the like button, as it truly does help us continue to build and grow this baseball community here on the Baseball Banter Broadcast. We have a ton of new content coming for you in this upcoming season, and you're not going to want to miss any of it. So hitting the subscribe button and the bell for post notifications allows you to be able to be notified each and every time we drop new content. So once again, I want to thank you for joining me here, and I will catch you on the next video. Peace.